Hey there, Lolo here. So this episode was not one that I was planning on doing quite yet. I've been wanting to make this video, or this not this video. Although I suppose you're watching on YouTube, it's kind of a video, but more of an audio log, I guess. Due to the way that the schedule kind of came out the week that this is coming out. It made sense for me to do this instead of the episode of Hazel Town because due to some basically some things that happened, I did not have the energy to do Hazel Town Story this week. So rather than kind of draw out one of those one-off episodes talking about someone's like past or something, I've been kind of wanting to do this for a while, and it was going to happen eventually. So. Let's do it right now. One thing that I've been kind of looking at, if you can't tell, this is going to be a little bit of a rambly one because I'm not really working off the script. I have some bullet points that I kind of want to adjust because there's going to be some slight changes to definitely to how Hazel Town Story radio works, but also some slight other potential stream changes. So it's not just going to affect Hazel Town Radio. It is going to affect my like Twitch streams and that, but not too bad. So it's not like I'm stopping or anything by any chance. I'm definitely not stopping. Although the way you're going to get get the stuff might change on the Hazel Town Radio side, which is kind of the bigger change. So right now, the schedule is that I put up a new a new Media Delta every Tuesday and a new Hazel Town Story every Thursday. So I've been kind of thinking about how like the content that I produce, and I forgot exactly what made me think about this one day, but I actually sat down and manually tallied out how much time does it take me to put out the content that I do every week? Basically taking in the time of streaming, getting the streams ready for YouTube by doing like timestamping and all that, making sure they're uploaded, for stuff, and also for the streams, prepping the stuff to making sure that the stuff works, trying to think of stuff to actually stream in the future, so coming up with the polls and all that. Just also making the images that I do, the thumbnails, the schedule for the week, kind of overhead for the streams. On the podcasting side, I have to edit not only Hazel Town Story, but also Media Delta, both each week. Media Delta tends to be a little bit more intensive each week by week, although in the grand scheme of things, I think Hazel Town Story comes out slightly more because every time we have a session, I have to sit down and break it apart and edit out the cruft of it. So that might end up kind of taking more of it. But basically, the both at least take an hour every week of doing. If not, if I don't have to like scrounge the audio from some other source if Gregor Giark doesn't work. But basically, I sat down and did the tally of the time. And it takes me about 20 hours a week of streaming. This is kind of turning into a part-time job for me, which my ethos for doing the streams, like I'm not like, I almost knocked some things down. The thing that I always had for my streams is that I do this for I do this for my own personal entertainment. Like I do it I do it when it's fun, which for the most part it is. I mean, the problem is that there's a lot of like finicky stuff with it. And there's a lot of the stuff every week that I have to deal with that is the more minute stuff. Regarding like editing both podcasts, getting it through the thing. And I just also had the thought about the fact that the reason why Hazel Town Story existed was it kind of came out from actually my old job, because I used to listen to podcasts all the time at my old job. So I'm like, I'll make a podcast. So it's something that you can listen to as you're working. It's something you could have on definitely in the background. You don't even have to look at anything. So that was in November of 2019, I think, was the first episode of Media Delta. Well, the thing about that was two things, definitely. One very minor thing is I switched jobs, which in the March of the following year, so March 2020, which meant that I really didn't have as much of an interest in podcasting, actually, because due to the way that the job worked, I had access to, do more access to media while I'm working. So I kind of lost my appetite for podcasts, for at least the wide range of podcasts. So that's one thing. My basically podcast didn't seem to make as much sense anymore. But on a more grander scale, of course, March 2020 was when, waving my hand in the air, the pandemic hit, which meant that for a grand majority of people, or I shouldn't say grand majority, but a lot of people don't commute anymore, which means that's their primary listen or like venue for listening to podcasts. So just the general interest in podcasting in that way also didn't kind of pan out. So not saying this as a way of like, I'm not shutting them down by any means. Both Media Delta and Hazel Town Story are going to continue. However, how much they're going to continue is going to change slightly. Because another problem that I have seen people have with both shows is that there's another episode. It's kind of the problem that I had with how it's the reason why I stagger my uploads on YouTube, is the problem that people, it's like, it's still between Hazel Town Story and Media Delta, that's 2 hours every week, which some people might not have. So I am still running into the issue of putting out too much content every week. At least too much for people to realistically kind of keep up with. So I've heard from many different people that they're having trouble trying to grasp onto how much stuff there is. So I am going to start spreading out both Hazel Town Story and Media Delta. Right now, the schedule, as I mentioned, was that Media Delta goes up on Tuesdays, Hazel Town Story goes up on Thursdays. What I am instead going to start doing is that basically the show is going to go up on Thursday. There's nothing going to come up on Tuesday, but we're going to start alternating between Media Delta and Hazel Town Story. So as of right now, I am recording this on March 7th, 2021. For this week, normally, so for example, on March 2nd, which was a Tuesday, RoboCop went up. And on March 4th, which was a Thursday, Tom's Diner 3 came out for Hazel Town Story. What's going to happen this week, which actually, now that I think about it, you're going to hear this. I'm doing this in the past. So on March 9th, the first part of our Adventures of Moomin Valley is going to go up. And what you were listening to right now is going to go up on March 11th. As you were hearing this, the week forward, what's going to happen is that on March 18th, I am going to start it out with what should be, providing we actually record on Friday again, which all things considered, that should happen. Basically, what should go up on March 18th is Tom's Diner 4. But there won't be a Hazel Town Story or a Media Delta going up that week. And then on March 25th, our episode talking about Pat Labor, the movie, will go up. And then the following week will be Tom's Diner 5, then Adventures of Moomin Valley Part 2, so forth. That's going to be the new schedule, is basically they're going to swap weeks. This is actually beneficial in some other alternative ways, that I know that it kind of prevents you from hearing some content, but it gives us a lot, or it gives me in particular, a lot of wiggle room, because a weird quirk of Podbean, which is the method that, or the hosting platform for Hazeltown Radio, is the fact that they do actually have automated upload to YouTube. Because right now I am actually using a using a service. I forgot what it's called, but it's just basically it is a web program. It's like fileconverto.com. Which basically you give it a picture and you give it an MP3 file. It churns out an MP4 video so I can manually upload it to YouTube. What would be nice is Podbean does have a automated upload to Podbean and it'll automatically go to YouTube. It has that, but due to the way that YouTube's automatic upload API apparently works, is that they can only do it once per week. Which, since I'm uploading 2 things a week, that means I can't do it. Or else I'd have one that would do it, and then it would just not do it for the other ones. So if I have it just one upload a week, that means that I can use that automatic upload, which means that it saves me a little bit of extra time. Also, I believe that Podbean's little video thing is actually better than what I have. Like, it gives you a little waveform and kind of, it looks a little bit nicer. Like, it's not one of those like super like high fancy things you do in Premiere, but it's better than just the picture of the thumbnail that I have right now. So that's just a little bit of nicety that on my part that would be. Also, the thing is with Media Delta is, if you think about what I have to do that, not only just me, but also the other people who tend to be like, just specifically Torpo, who's been in every episode. Every week we have to set aside 3 hours to watch it. To watch whatever medium. It's not always 3 hours, but we have to set aside a chunk of time every week to go and watch something. Which, I mean, we're not doing anything intensive, but that's still time out of the week that we can't do anything else with. Also, we got to record it every week. So it kind of had the issue where just trying to be a little bit more, giving everyone a little bit more time. That I'm not having to every week, especially since it gets into a routine and it just starts becoming part of your week, which another thing is that it's one of the things that made me think about it is I forgot what weekend it was, but there was like a weekend where I got everything done super early. Like I got everything done on like a Saturday. Like I had a Sunday that I had nothing that I needed to do regarding the channel. Just upload that Sunday's Retro and Crapsy onto YouTube. And it was getting to, like, I would sit there and I'm like, oh, I have time now. And I've just been so inundated with side projects that I've kind of almost forgotten how to enjoy my own free time. Which that's one of the things that you just kind of realize, and it's like, this might be a sign that I need to reevaluate whether or not what I am doing is worth it. Which, if some people are having problems keeping up with it, then it's kind of not. So that's one reason why is just because it's giving back some time to everyone involved, so that it's not every week we have to sit down and do something. Another benefit of this is, especially since how the schedule is going to be in the next couple of weeks, is the fact that it'll give me some buffer time for Media Delta. Because right now, for Media Delta, we're kind of going on the fly. Like, we do a recording on Thursday. It's going up that next week's Monday or Tuesday, that's that episode. I'm not working like a lot of other podcasts do, where it's like a week in advance, so that you have like one in the hopper, so that should you have an issue where you can't record that day, then you're not hosed and just don't have any content for that week. So I want to build up a little bit of a backlog so that I have some stuff in the hopper, so that if I need to say perchance, like we don't have a Media Delta or something, like we have to schedule this in a weird way, that way it gives me a little bit more time so I can be more flexible. That way. And also this will give me some additional ways of doing it, so that do the same for Hazel Town Story. Because right now I do actually have a kind of a way to do a backup, like I can do those little side stories. But doing those are kind of hard because, I mean, I have to write it, I have to make sure that it sounds right, I have to actually record the narration, and it's a lot more work than just editing a Hazel Town Story recording, where that's just it's a lot of like putting puzzle pieces together. Uh, so the kind of going to a bi-weekly way, in that every other week way, then it makes it a little bit more friendly to me, and hopefully to you. You could kind of, you can kind of enjoy at a more leisurely pace. So you don't feel like, especially a Hazel Town Story, with it being like a kind of a storyline based thing. So you don't feel like you're getting back, like you don't have to rush to get through the backlog. So that is why that is playing on chaining. And that's really all it is. This might actually change the length of Hazel Town Story episodes, because right now, when we do a session, we usually go for about, usually how it's been is we've gone for about 3 or 3.5 hours, and I just break it up into 3 parts. So you have 3 episodes per session. Depending upon how the time works now, I might end up breaking it into 2. So the episodes themselves might be slightly longer, but not like super longer. That might change, although I'll have to see, because I'm going into this kind of on the seat of my pants, kind of going to try not to wing it in terms of like quality, but like how exactly those things are going to go out. I'm not sure if I'm just going to keep the same format, but I'm likely it's not. I'm going to only do something if I feel like it'll make it better. So there's that. That's kind of the main changes coming to Hazeltown Radio, is basically the TLDR is that we are going from, instead of both shows going up weekly, they're going to go to a bi-weekly thing, alternating weeks. So it'll be Hazel Town Story Media Delta, Hazel Town Story Media Delta, so on and so forth. And I know I just said, speaking of Hazel Town Story, this is something that's more of a background thing, but it's something that if you've been listening for a while, it's something that is part of Hazel Town Story. It's not just the escapades of the world that I created. It's not, the group trying to interact with that. That's a majority of it. But part of it is actually me trying to do tabletop stuff, because I not have super lot of experience GMing with tabletop games. And what we've done, we've only used one particular game system for Hazel Town Story, and that is Genesis, which is a tabletop game that is it's in a weird state of flux, because it's kind of discontinued at this point. I believe that there is a side community. I haven't fully looked into it, but I know that Fantasy Flight Games is not supporting it as well, or it's not supporting it in the way that it used to. So it is slightly, I think, in the process of dying, although it seems like there might have been a renaissance, because there might have been a different buyer. I haven't actually looked that up, because I'm doing this on the seat of my pants. So, yeah, I don't really know. And also, not to say that I don't care, but also that's not beside the point. Another point that you've might caught on as you have been listening on is that Genesis is really a system that is meant for scenarios in which it's very freeform. It's actually meant to be kind of homebrewed and doing your own scenario. The thing is, it's really meant for scenarios and campaigns that have a lot of combat. When I came up with Hazel Town Story, I thought there was going to be a lot more combat. Then it turns out that the scenarios that I'm providing really have in them. So we're kind of using the system in a weird way, which is kind of given issues to not only me, but also to the players. So we're kind of growing a little bit dissatisfied with Genesis. So right as I said that I'm trying to put less stuff on my plate to do so that I can actually enjoy myself, I am working with someone else. And right now, that someone else is Carnival, because we're both into that tabletop kind of stuff. We're kind of going in actually kind of homebrewing our own system. We're not starting from scratch. By no means we're not starting from scratch. Right now, we are kind of taking a look at a lot of games that are done via the Power by the Apocalypse engine, and also the Forge by the Dark engine. And we're kind of actually kind of mashing the two together. and we're working on our own little homebrew system right now. So that is a change that's going on for Hazel Town Story. I have no idea when it's going to be done. We're not exactly rushing ourselves. Like, I don't have any date. Genesis, for the most part, is working fine. We just have some quirks. But I feel that with this game change, it'll be not only just be a lot more tuned for what I like, we're tuning it for what we've done so far, so what we'd kind of expect, and we're not having to rely on the whims of another game system. We're kind of honing down to what exactly we need, so it'll be a really good fit for Hazel Town Story. So there is that. That is something that I'm working on. So that's fun stuff going ahead. No like format changes for Media Delta. We're still planning on doing stuff in regards to, like, I know especially since there's going to be an episode based on Secret of Nim coming up, that one of the things we keep on joking about is that Media Delta is going to at some point just cover whatever media we feel like. That's not officially going to be the stance yet. Because we're still trying to focus on stuff that we have done during Retro Rank Rhapsody. So we at least have that backbone with us. That's not going to change, and there's no real format change for Media Delta. It's still going to be whatever the show that it currently is. So that's Hazel Town Story, and that's Media Delta covered. There is going to be some slight stream changes coming up, and by some slight stream changes is... I've been doing this for a while. It's kind of the thing that I realized that I started streaming in like 2006, and I've been Ranking of Shmup started in like April of 2017. So we're kind of we're not there yet, but I mean, sooner than later, we've been doing this for like 5 years. We're about to hit our fourth, but, yeah, we've been doing this for a while. And whenever you do anything for a while, you start to realize, okay, well, what works, and then what could we, change? Like, what kind of new and exciting things can we do to kind of keep the format fresh? And right now, I have nothing solid for ideas, but one thing that we are going to be doing for April is I'm going to be doing a lot more experimental streams. And by experimental streams, I mean basically streams in which I'm just going to be trying new stuff. One of the things that I've kind of been wanting to do, and something that I've kind of have been doing, is I've been kind of thinking about not just doing retro stuff, because retro stuff is it's my forte. Like, it is absolutely what I plan on doing. I'm not super huge in the modern stuff, but occasionally I still do play modern stuff. Like, I still play games. And sometimes I'm just starting to think, I'm like, okay, what can I do something with not just retro games to kind of get it into this kind of, get into the feel of the channel. Like, I'm not just going to be like, oh, I'm going to become a Fortnite streamer, or like just start doing that. And just kind of stuff that I can do with that. So basically, coming up in April, we're going to start trying some new stuff. I don't know if it will land. Nothing's set in stone. The one big thing that I do know that I am going to change is Retro Rank Rhapsody itself might have a slight format change. And by that I mean, one thing that I noticed, like, I've been trying some new things. For example, I tried doing the Fightcade stuff. That format, people seem to like that. Doing more races, because I know that's a favorite among some of my longer viewers. But one thing I definitely have gotten incredible positive feedback on is actually the Box of Mystery that I started to do in December with the Box of Christmas Crackers. That format seemed to really work well, because for one part, it lets me, it's a more of a more organic way of getting in the games that people request, because one of the problems I have with like the building request, and the reason why it's kind of builds up a little bit, is I have to kind of shoehorn, like, the way that I do Retro Rank Rhapsody now is based on episode themes. So I don't really have a whole lot of like, oh, we're just going to do a hodgepodge of games. I kind of have to weave the games into like a theme so that it's not just a random hodgepodge of games, or at least that's how I try and do it. The thing, if I just do this box of mystery stuff, I can just pop them somewhere, and well, if it comes up, it comes up. So I really like that format also because I tend to forget what I put on the games list myself. So it's fun for everyone, actually, including myself. So there's that. So likely you're going to see a lot more box of mystery stuff. Also thinking of trying to do something for that for long plays for determining that, because I'm trying to find some different ways of doing polling, specifically for like how I do on my Discord of the polls. Because one thing with polls that I kind of, it's when I start to do it is it's a problem with polling, especially popular polling. Because when I say this, I want to preface this by saying I have no problem with how anyone votes. It's like everyone has a right to their own vote. And a lot of this is just human nature. But the thing I notice whenever I put a poll up, I kind of have to sometimes, like, especially if I'm doing singular games, I kind of have to massage the polls a little bit. Because what will happen is I come up with an idea. I come up with like a few ideas. And then there's one theme that has a very popular game in it. Like games that have like say Super Mario RPG, like the really big name stuff that like everyone sees. Usually you tend to get people to kind of gravitate toward that because it's like a bunch of random games that no one's known of in the one game that everyone knows. So people just tend to do that. And my kind of goal with stuff that I show off is I really like to I really like showing off obscure stuff. Like that is the stuff that I really enjoy to work. I don't have any problem with the modern stuff, but it's like, or like the popular stuff. It's just, I like the more obscure stuff. It's the stuff that interests me personally. Which I know I'm not the one in the audience. So if you're coming to me, I should probably, focus on what my audience wants to see. But it's the things that it's the things that gives me energy a little bit. Like, it's not like I'm going to go in, oh, this is Chrono Trigger, blah, 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 blah. Although I have problems with Chrono Trigger. Side to point is I like showing off obscure stuff. It's the basic line. And the problem is that if you don't know what it is, then it's kind of hard to kind of be like interested in it. So I'm trying to think about ways of doing that so that people aren't necessarily like to make it a little bit more easier for like the more obscure stuff to shine is more what I was kind of thinking. But I don't know exactly how that's going to do that. That's just something that I'm thinking about in the future. So yeah, that's kind of what I have in my brain right now in regards to changing. No schedule changes that I can think of. It's interesting. I might the only stream scheduling change that might happen is depending upon, and this also is nothing because it's reliant on other people's schedules. But there might be the chance that we might start doing Hazel Town Story recordings outside of stream hours, because just due to the schedule, we always do Hazel Town recordings on Fridays because that's just when everyone's available. Now the fact that we're not recording on Thursdays, and the fact that there's now weeks in which there's no Media Delta stuff, it could actually end up being that it might be easier as a group for us to record on another day. So it might end up happening that Hazel Town Story tends to not be recorded, might not be recorded on stream. We might do it off stream, and I might even do that. But it's a lot of stuff that might happen that I just want you all to be aware of. So yeah, I think I'm good. Kind of get the rambling done with because I had basically those 3 bullet points, the Hazel Town Story. So if you want a TLDR of kind of what I've mentioned, basically there's going to be changing to the schedules of Media Delta and Hazel Town Story. They're now going to go every other week. So coming up. This week there will be a Media Delta. Next Thursday will be a Hazel Town Story. The following Thursday will be Media Delta. The following story, you get the idea. There's that. We're working on a new version of the game. We're kind of homebrewing a game for Hazel Town Story. So look forward to that. That's going to be mostly in the background, though. That's not going to really change a whole lot about the show, at least from a listener standpoint. And also look forward to new and exciting things coming to the streams for, Retro and Crapsody. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So with that, stay safe out there. Wear your masks. Wear 2 of them. Yeah. Well, yeah, just stay safe out there. So I don't really know how to end this because usually I have some video or some audio file that I put at the end. So I'm just going to say thank you all for listening and have a good whatever time it is when you're listening to this. Bye.